All right, so you want to use crypto to buy real estate, huh?
Yeah.
Well, buckle up, because we're diving deep into crypto-backed mortgages today. We've got a whole stack of research here.
Yeah.
And it's not just about trading your Bitcoin for keys to a new place.
Right.
It's way more interesting than that. We're talking about connecting that whole decentralized finance world with good old-fashioned real estate.
What's really cool is you can actually tap into the value of your crypto without selling it.
Oh.
So you're basically using it like a really powerful down payment, but you still get to hold on to your investment.
Okay, so walk me through this a little. I get the collateral part. But how does getting a crypto-backed mortgage actually work?
It's actually pretty straightforward. So imagine you transfer your Bitcoin or Ether over to a lender. They hold on to it securely, and then they give you a regular loan to buy the property.
So I'm not like literally paying for the house in Bitcoin.
Not exactly. You're getting a loan in like dollars or euros.
Okay.
But the lender is using your crypto to back that loan.
Gotcha. But what happens if the value of my crypto drops?
Yeah.
Do I just lose the house?
That's where this thing called a margin call comes in.
Okay.
If the value of your crypto goes down a lot, the lender might ask you to add more to keep a certain ratio. It's kind of like you're topping up your collateral so they feel secure.
That makes sense. But isn't this kind of risky for lenders? Crypto can be pretty unpredictable, right?
Totally. They have to balance things carefully. That's why they usually require a bigger amount of collateral than the loan, like a buffer zone for when the market goes up and down. And this is where blockchain technology really comes in. It adds this extra layer of security and transparency.
This is where it gets really interesting. Blockchain for mortgages. Tell me more.
Okay, so imagine smart contracts that automate the whole loan process. So less paperwork, fewer delays. And because blockchain keeps a record of everything, every transaction is super clear and open. So it builds trust for both sides.
So less red tape and more security. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get down to brass tacks. What do I actually do if I want to try this crypto mortgage thing out?
First, you got to check the eligibility criteria.
Okay.
Most lenders work with the big ones like Bitcoin and Ether. And they're going to look at your financial situation too. Things like income, credit history, all that.
So it's not a guaranteed yes just because I have crypto.
Right. Lenders still want to make sure you can pay back the loan.
Okay.
Especially since crypto values can jump around. Oh, and of course, there's the regulatory side.
Right.
Making sure you're following all the rules about where your crypto came from, all that.
Got to keep things transparent.
Yep.
Okay, let's say I pass all the checks. What's next?
You'd need to find lenders or platforms that actually offer these mortgages.
Right.
Some specialize in crypto lending, but some traditional institutions are starting to get into it too.
So I've got options. What about the actual application process?
Once you find a lender and get pre-approved, you'll transfer your crypto into a secure escrow account.
That protects both you and the lender while everything gets finalized.
Makes sense. Now, what about the actual property I'm buying? How does that fit in?
The lender will appraise the property, same as a regular mortgage, to figure out its market value. Then you finalize all the loan terms, interest rate, repayment schedule, all that.
So all the usual real estate steps still apply.
Exactly. The property is still the most important thing here.
Yeah.
The lender wants to be sure it's a good investment. The way you're paying for it is what's different.
Okay.
That's where the innovation is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've talked about how it all works, but honestly, why would I go through all this instead of just selling my crypto and using the cash to buy a house?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? It really comes down to your strategy and how you feel about crypto in the long run. With a crypto-backed mortgage, you get to keep your assets and you're kind of betting that they'll go up in value later. It's like having your Bitcoin and eating it too. So I can get a loan but still stay invested in crypto.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about taxes? That's always a big thing with real estate.
You're thinking about the tax implications, right? This is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Since you aren't technically selling your crypto, you might actually avoid or at least delay paying taxes on any profits you would have made. Depending on where you live, of course. It's like a secret benefit you don't get with regular mortgages.
The magic words. Potential tax savings. But let's be real for a sec.
Yeah.
It's got to be some downsides, right?
Yeah.
Crypto is known for being a bit of a roller coaster.
You got it. We definitely need to think about the risks, too. The big one is obviously the volatility we talked about earlier. The value of your crypto can swing up and down like crazy, which could lead to those margin calls.
Yeah.
If the market takes a nosedive, you could actually lose a lot of your crypto if you can't meet those requirements.
That's definitely a risk I'd have to consider carefully.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the whole regulatory side of things? Is this even legal where I live?
The rules around crypto-backed mortgages are still evolving. It really depends on where you are, and things can change. The important thing is to really understand the legal stuff and make sure you're playing by the rules, including those anti-money laundering regulations.
So do your homework, folks. Don't just dive in head first.
Exactly.
Are there any other traps I should watch out for?
You really got to understand all the loan terms before you sign anything. Pay attention to the interest rates, the repayment schedule, what happens if you get a margin call. Knowing all that can save you from nasty surprises later.
Great advice. Okay, for those of us who are intrigued to want to explore this further, what are some platforms that actually offer crypto-backed mortgages?
There are a few big names out there. There's Nexo, for example. They do crypto-backed loans that work with like 40 different cryptocurrencies.
Wow.
They're known for quick approvals and flexible repayment options.
Sounds pretty easy to use. What else is out there?
LED is another one. They focus specifically on Bitcoin-backed mortgages.
Okay.
So if you're really into Bitcoin, they're a good choice.
Gotcha.
And then there's Salt Lending. They do a bunch of different crypto-backed loans, including for real estate. If you want to shop around, they're a good option.
Okay, so there are definitely some solid choices. But with all these platforms popping up, what should people be thinking about when they're picking one?
That's a great question. The most important thing is to check their reputation and security measures. You're trusting them with your crypto, so you want to make sure they're reliable and have good security in place.
Safety first. What else should we be looking at?
Compare things like interest rates, loan-to-value ratios, and repayment terms.
Right.
You got to find a platform that fits your financial goals and how much risk you're comfortable with.
Makes sense.
Oh, and make sure the platform accepts the specific crypto you want to use as collateral.
Good point.
Yeah.
Doesn't help if they only take Dogecoin when all my money's in Ethereum.
Exactly.
Anything else?
Regulatory compliance is really important. Make sure the platform is operating legally in your area.
Right.
You don't want legal trouble down the road.
Right.
And last but not least, check out their customer support. Having good help available if you need it makes the whole experience so much smoother.
Great point. Okay, let's zoom out a little. Do you think crypto-backed mortgages could actually go mainstream? Or is this always going to be this niche thing for crypto fans?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like trying to predict what the internet would be like back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Nobody knew how huge it would become.
Yeah. But if we look at what's happening now, crypto is growing super fast.
It is.
And more people are looking for ways to use it.
Right.
The whole DeFi space is blowing up. The lines between traditional finance and crypto are getting blurry.
Exactly. And as the technology improves and the rules get clearer and more lenders get involved, crypto-backed mortgages could become more normal and more attractive to a lot of people.
Okay, so maybe it's not just a fantasy. But wouldn't that mean even more ups and downs in the crypto market?
Yeah, that's a valid point. More demand for crypto as collateral
Right.
could definitely mess with the prices and make things even more unpredictable.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Definitely. It's complicated and it's hard to say for sure what'll happen.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, this whole crypto real estate thing is worth watching. It has the power to shake things up and create new opportunities for people who want to buy a home.
Speaking of shaking things up, one thing that really stood out in the research is how blockchain could make the whole mortgage process more transparent and trustworthy.
Absolutely. Think about the traditional mortgage system. Mountains of paperwork, middlemen everywhere.
Right.
Lots of potential for things to be unclear. But with blockchain, everything is recorded in a way that can't be changed and anyone can see it.
Yeah.
That could potentially simplify things, reduce costs, and make borrowers and lenders trust each other more.
So it's not just about crypto as collateral. It's about using blockchain to make the system fairer and more efficient.
Exactly.
Makes me wonder if this is just the start of a much bigger change in how we think about money in general.
It could be. As blockchain keeps developing and more people use it, who knows what other cool applications we'll see in finance and other areas.
It's definitely exciting to see all this unfold.
It is.
And for anyone listening who's interested in checking out alternative ways to finance things, crypto-backed mortgages are worth looking into.
I agree. Just approach it carefully, do your research, and if you need help, talk to an expert.
Good advice.
The crypto world is still pretty new, and it's important to be informed and prepared.
So we've really dug into these crypto-backed mortgages. It's a lot to take in, especially if you're not super familiar with crypto.
Right.
What advice would you give to someone who's hearing about this for the first time and they're like, whoa, this is kind of overwhelming?
I'd say don't be scared off by all the technical stuff.
Yeah.
Really, this is all about giving people more options, more control over how they handle their money. Say it, especially when it comes to something as big as buying a home.
I like that. More choices, more control.
Yeah.
It's about giving people the power to decide. Right.
That's it. It's about letting people use what they have in new ways. But knowledge is power, too. If this is something you're really serious about, the first step is to learn more.
Yeah.
There's so much information out there, articles, videos, even online communities where people talk about this stuff all the time.
So start with the basics, like what are cryptocurrencies? How does blockchain work? What kinds of loans can you get?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Find a financial advisor who knows about crypto and real estate.
Yeah.
They can give you advice that's specific to your situation.
Solid advice. And remember, this whole thing is still pretty new. It's changing all the time.
It is.
So be careful, do your research, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Absolutely. And one more thing.
Yeah.
Don't invest more than you can afford to lose, especially with crypto being so up and down.
Good point. It's all about managing risk and making smart choices.
Right.
Okay, before we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about. What if these crypto-backed mortgages became so normal that they were just the way everyone bought a house? What would that world look like?
Wow, that's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
Would it make it easier for people to buy homes? Would it change how we think about banks and lending? Would it make the financial system more stable or less stable?
Right.
It's hard to say for sure, but it's definitely worth thinking about.
It really is. It shows how these financial tools that seem complicated could actually change our lives in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
Totally. The future of finance is being created right now, and crypto-backed mortgages are just one part of that.
Well said. We've covered a lot today, from how these mortgages actually work to what they could mean for the future of money.
We have.
Hopefully you're feeling more in the know and maybe even a little inspired to explore these new possibilities.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of crypto-backed mortgages.